Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day around here. That's the job that we have. That's our responsibility, and we will take it gladly. We've got another exciting episode of EP Live with a fantastic guest, someone that is very familiar to people that have been watching Electric Playground for a while. And in fact, he used to work with us here on Electric Playground. His name is Cooper Bibaud, and he's going to talk to us about making movies and making video games very soon. But first, we've got a rundown to get to. But before we do that, I have to remind you that we do shoot this show live on location at the Vancouver Film School Cafe, which is at 390 West Hastings in downtown Vancouver. And you are more than welcome to come and join us and be a part of the show. And we always have a good time around here. Let's get started with your rundown, which is getting dedicated to Luc Gagne and Dennis V, two brand new members. And I also have to remind you that we have a very cool Hellboy contest on our Facebook page where you can win tickets to the show. And I think there is some other kind of clothing that you can win as well. You got to go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Electric Playground to check that out. Now, let's get started with your rundown. Another tiny classic console is coming our way. Sega has announced that the Sega Genesis Mini, first revealed a year ago, will finally land September 19th. Similar to the recent NES Classic and SNES Classic, the Genesis Mini is a tiny recreation of the original Genesis that will come with 40 classic games pre-installed, including, surprise, Sonic the Hedgehog and Altered Beast. The software is being handled by developer M2, the same studio behind the Sega Ages and Sega 3D Classics collection. And the hardware is being handled by Sega itself, so this is not a partnership thing that they're doing with Act Games. You can get those right now if you want one of those Act Games machines. I would love it if this tiny little Genesis console also accepted cartridges, and I've been thinking a lot about this. Why don't these little mini systems let you plug in your cartridges, and why don't we let these companies figure out a way to bring that business back? I think they're like, these mini consoles are selling like crazy. Why don't we just figure out a way to make more cartridges and get them into stores? Maybe there's, like vinyl came back. Why can't cartridges come back to lots of cool stores all over the place? I know that there's a collector's market out there, but why not manufacture them again and let these little mini microsystems be upgradable in some context? I mean, if downloadable software would be awesome as well, but there's something about those cartridges and slapping them in, and I'm excited about this. I'm definitely getting one, although I have just ordered the Mega SG from Analog, which will be coming sometime this month. I can't wait to get it. Might be next month, but I'm super psyched for it, and I'm super psyched to pick up my Genesis cartridges and place them into the machine and play them in 1080p on my big screen TV. But yeah, retro gaming isn't going anywhere, and in fact, the farther the distance we get from when these games first came out in 16-bit, the better they seem to be, and the better they seem to look. Those cartridges and all of those sprite-based games are aging very gracefully. They're super fun, super challenging, and clearly lots and lots of people love them. And I just wish that these companies would figure out a way to get all of them to us. And one of the major, I didn't mean for this to be a big rant, but I've been thinking about this a lot, clearly. But one of the major stumbling blocks that is a part of this equation are all these licensed games that are out there, because this is the time in the video game industry when all these studios spent millions of dollars locking up all these licenses and making Spider-Man games and Batman games and all. There was some good stuff in there, but those licenses are the challenge, and I don't know if we're going to get them back, and I feel like there's a business to be made working all those deals and bringing back some of those classics. I would sure love that, and I think you would too. All right, it's the end of the road for the PlayStation 4 racing game Driveclub. Sony has announced that they'll be shutting down the servers for Driveclub, as well as its spin-offs, Driveclub VR and Driveclub Bikes, on March 31st, 2020. This will essentially make the game unplayable, given its strong emphasis on multiplayer, although the scaled-down single-player component will still be available. Sony will also stop selling the game on the PlayStation Network starting this summer. This has been a long time coming. Driveclub launched in 2014, with Sony hoping it would be the next Gran Turismo, but it failed to catch on. They already closed down developer Evolution Studios in 2016, so taking the servers offline is the final nail in the coffin, and this story almost dovetails directly into the previous this story? Isn't this a shame that we have a game that had a fan base that was, elegantly made by Evolution, which also made the MotorStorm games, which I love, and I wish Sony would bring those back. I wish they would bring back Evolution Studios, as a matter of fact. But here we see a game being shut off because it's digital only. Here's a game, you might own it and you won't be able to play it because it's digital only. And I think we all have this pride. Every lifer out there that's been playing video games for a long time has this fear. And as we shift and edge closer and closer to this digital only future that we're inevitably moving towards, I feel like the loss of being able to play some of these classic games is tragic and terrible. And I think the business should try to do whatever it can to preserve these experiences. In fact, if it's online that's becoming the stumbling block, I think there's another business in there for, a server company or Amazon, which has, great swaths of the internet, to figure out a way to preserve the online components of some of these classic games so they don't die. The fact that this media has a shelf life and it dies is just abhorrent. It's terrible. And yes, movies get taken off of Netflix all the time or other streaming services, but they don't die. They don't disappear. You can still find them somehow. Video games, unless I don't know, they can disappear. And people do find ways to find them. It's stupid, and I wish the games industry would figure out a way to preserve them, protect them, and offer them up to their customers forever. And, my heart aches for every Driveclub fan out there that's going to be feeling the pinch. There's probably huge communities of people that have been playing this, and then suddenly, nope, yank, you can't play it anymore. That sucks. All right, despite a few setbacks, Activision isn't slowing down the pace of new content for Call of Duty Black Ops 4. They've unveiled the second map coming to the game's Blackout Battle Royale mode. Known as Alcatraz, the new map drops players into the famed island prison in San Francisco with the whole island available to explore, including exteriors and the dark inside of the prison itself. Developer Treyarch says that this is the biggest batch of post-launch content made for the game so far, but like the rest of the post-launch content, you'll need to buy the season pass in order to get it. The new map launches tomorrow on the PlayStation 4, with other platforms following in about a month. Although Black Ops 4 has sold well, it still failed to meet Activision's expectations, which is one of the reasons why the publisher fired about 800 people, or 8% of their total workforce, despite record profits. The next Call of Duty game deploys later this year, and guess what? It's got a single-player component in it again. And I think that this is, another tale of the move to digital only and finding ways to kind of sell you content that you don't physically own, but it's still fun and still lots and lots of love and effort put into it. But I feel like there was a big saturation. I think Fortnite's success and PUBG's success, Apex Legends' success, this move towards Battle Royale, we were going to start to see some casualties. I think this is one of them. This is an excellent Battle Royale experience, by the way. And I'm not taking anything away from the game. It was fun. It was really well made, but it did feel like a sliver of its former self just by the absence of that single-player component. And Activision knows that, and their studios know that. That's why it's coming back. I feel like, the games industry has been pinched on a lot of sides. A lot of consumers out there feeling like everybody's got their hands in their pockets and their hands on their wallets after they've purchased a $60 to $80 experience already. And that's going to backfire. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I think that's what these layoffs at Electronic Arts and these layoffs at Activision kind of represent. I feel like they're kind of gaming the system a little bit and moving, asking for the full meal deal price and then also asking for our extra season pass money and our DLC money and our microtransaction money. It's worked. You can't blame these companies that have made billions of dollars and hired lots of people and invested some of that money back into content for figuring out a new way to do business. But I think this was the year that consumers started to say enough is enough, And I also feel like Electronic Arts had the statistic that Anthem's first month comparative to Apex Legends' first month were about the same, but of course Anthem cost the full price. Apex Legends was making all of its money off of microtransactions. They probably cost nearly the same amount of money to make, maybe actually probably quite a bit less because BioWare had all of the narrative and all the years of development and the stop-start and all that stuff. But it is interesting. I feel like let's not kill single player, guys. You big studios out there. Activision and EA. Let's not kill single player. Let's not kill experimentation, and let's not kill giving consumers the whole package for one price. Let's not do that. I mean, here that's it, right? That's the bracket. We got the Genesis on one end, and we have, would you please buy our season pass for Call of Duty on the other end? I don't know if that's progress. All right, DC just made it a lot easier to get the latest adventures from their best superheroes. They've announced that their online streaming platform, DC Universe, will now include access to digital versions of all of their comics. This is amazing. Before, they only had a selection of comics available, but now subscribers will be able to read every single DC comic that comes out. DC also plans to eventually make all their older comics available as well, although it's unclear how long that will take given their 85-year history. DC Universe isn't available in Canada yet, but they say it's coming soon. This is the way you do digital right, man. If you are going to go back and archive all of that artistic, creative work, all of those amazing comics that kind of set the stage for this cinematic comic book universe that we are all living in, whether we want to or not. We've got a superhero movie in the theaters every week. We've got superhero TV shows on almost every night. They're honoring all of the comic work by letting us have access to it. Marvel's already got their fantastic subscription service. I forget what it's called, Marvel Ultimate or something. I've been a long-time subscriber to that. It's not definitive. You don't get everything. The fact that DC is going crazy with this is very good. And I think that speaks very well of preserving this work for future generations and giving people access to this work. When I was a kid growing up and I was getting into Batman and Superman and Green Arrow, all my DC heroes, I used to love going to the comic shop, shout out to one of my favorite comic stores in Vancouver, and I would dive into their old bins, their old comic bins, and I would pick out those old comics and I would read them all the time. And I love diving into those old stories. They really set the tone and they gave me the education that I needed to kind of flesh out how I felt about these characters as I was reading the monthlies. And I think it's really cool. I think it's really important. Just like watching classic movies is really important if you're into cinematography, or if you want to understand the influences that modern filmmakers use in the things that they build. This is great news. My hat's off to you, DC. That is fantastic, and I'm glad that we're ending this rundown with great news like that. All right, you guys, we're going to be right back with Cooper Bibaud, but right now let's take a look back at this day and everything cool. Welcome to This Day and Everything Cool for April 1st. A lot of jokes have been played on this day, but on April 1st, 1976, computer geeks Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne weren't fooling anyone. That was the day they founded the Apple Computer Company in a garage in Cupertino, California. Their first product was the Apple I personal computer, which was basically just a motherboard with a CPU and RAM, and users were expected to attach their own keyboard and make their own case. Ronald Wayne left Apple after just a few weeks, and the company didn't take off until a year later when Jobs and Wozniak released the Apple II. This time it came with its own keyboard, case, and monitor. Go figure. And unlike most other personal computers released up to that point, the Apple II was designed to be user-friendly and was able to be used without a lot of programming knowledge. This essentially made the Apple II the first personal computer in the modern sense of the word. It took off, making Apple one of the biggest names in computing. The company took a hit in the late 1980s and 90s, but re-emerged in the early 2000s and is now not only the biggest computer company in the world, but one of the biggest companies, period. Another big technological revolution occurred on April 1st, 1826. American inventor Samuel Morey patented a new kind of engine that he called the gas or vapor engine, which eventually became known as the internal combustion engine. The only mechanical engines up to that point have been external compression engines, like the kind on steam-powered trains, where the heat source that powers the engine has to be generated externally. But on internal combustion engines, the heat source is created within the engine itself, hence the internal part, which allows the engines to be much smaller and easier to use. This paved the way for smaller, more compact machines and transportation methods, in particular the automobile, which was invented a few decades later. Blizzard Entertainment wasn't fooling anyone on April 1st, 1998, because that's when they released the first StarCraft game worldwide. It took the real-time strategy gameplay of their Warcraft series and brought it into space, introducing players to an entire new universe of alien creatures, planets, and weapons. StarCraft was praised for perfecting the RTS genre, striking the perfect balance between its different playable races and seamlessly weaving its story and characters into the gameplay itself. Like other Blizzard properties, StarCraft has since become one of the biggest game franchises in the world and still has millions of players across the globe. The first full sequel, StarCraft II, was released in 2010, and a remastered version of the original landed in 2017. Some super fun things have happened in previous years on this day, and today we've got something super cool as well. And thank you all for joining us on this stream. I see you there, Blair Farrell and Sam I Am 111 and Barcode Teacup and Jordan Cunningham and Cole Davis and Nicholas Paul. We've got a great guest for you guys right now. His name is Cooper Bibaud, and he makes movies. He's an actor, he's a writer, and now he's making video games as well. And this is all self-made, which is really cool. He has some dreams, and he's pursuing them. Please welcome Cooper Bibaud to the stage. Good to see you, my friend. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah, you brought water.
I know.
That's
I
smart.
It.
We do need it. It's hot. You wearing a sweater?
You want
No, it's
taste?
okay. It's all good. It's good to see you, my friend. I don't know if everybody knows this, but Cooper actually, in between projects, you worked as an editor with us for a couple of seasons?
Yeah, this is like full circle because I started out as a guest. You guys.
That's right.
You guys
yeah.
interviewed me for my very first movie years ago.
Yeah.
And then, editing, writing.
Yep.
And now I'm back as a guest.
How did that happen that we interviewed you for the show? Was it you guys or was it Super Channel?
We just kept bugging you on Twitter.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny Mac and I just kept messaging you and until you couldn't say no, and then you had us on. So
that's awesome. You guys are both. You and Danny are both. And you've done some on-camera stuff for us as well. That's awesome.
Hosting. This just popped up in my Facebook memories the other day. That's
so rad. You started in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And Danny Mac is your collaborator, and he was the star of Heel Kick. He's the main wrestler guy.
Yeah.
Heel Kick. Tell us a little bit about a Heel Kick. Some people haven't seen it, but it was a big success for you guys.
Yeah, it was. So Heel Kick is about two backyard wrestlers who try to go pro.
Yep.
But they lack any traits that two guys should have to be able to do that. They're just stoners. They're idiots. When it boils down to it, it's really just about two guys trying to pursue a dream.
Right.
And that's kind of the thing that we're really proud of, because if you're a wrestling fan, there's a lot there that you'll like.
Yeah.
If you're not a wrestling fan, there's still a ton of heart and things that you can relate to and connect with.
You guys did an amazing job at getting out into not only the wrestling community, but you worked with Greg Miller, who became a producer on the show.
Yeah.
On the movie.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So in 2015, we did a charity event called Game & Watch Live, which you were also part of.
Yes. I played against Greg.
With Greg,
and
it was one of the highlights.
He sucked just a little bit less than me. I sucked more than him, so I think I win.
That was an intense moment. You guys raced, and then it went to a battle mode, and I went down to like the last balloon and everything. It was like a highlight.
Mario Kart on the N64, which is a ridiculously difficult game. The physics don't make sense in that game. Anyways.
So we did a charity event. We met him there, and we didn't really know a ton about him at the time. We just knew he was a big voice for IGN at the time.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to get
IGN. Oh, he worked at IGN then,
Yeah, he had just left, and
okay.
he told us beforehand that he was leaving before it even went public, I guess.
Okay.
And so he was like, is that going to be okay that I'm not officially with them? We're like, yeah, whatever. Like, he's still a good voice for the industry. So
sure, yeah.
He came down, and then right away when we picked him up from the airport, he was just like, what are you guys making? And we found out he loves wrestling and video games, so it all kind of tied together in one, and he wanted to get behind it right away. So,
He's a good dude, isn't he?
Oh, he's fantastic. He's a very energetic man who
Yeah.
never stops somehow.
Yeah, well,
much like you.
Thank you. But he impressed me because he was a guy that he had his cancer health scare, right?
Yeah.
And I had known him a little bit, but I think he just wrapped his arms around this industry in a way.
Yeah.
And he got through that, thankfully. But I think he has a real appreciation for the good fortune that he has.
Yeah.
And he likes to share that, it feels like.
That's how he kind of came onto my radar, was through the whole cancer thing, because he started doing YouTube stuff in between, on top of his normal IGN thing. And so I just started watching his YouTube channel, which is just him and his friends like talking about anything.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of first really got to know his persona kind of thing. So,
awesome. So Heel Kick wasn't the first movie you guys made. How many movies have you guys made?
That was our second feature film.
Okay.
The first one was called Love Hate. That's the one that
yes.
you guys had us on for.
Right.
It was a rom-com, kind of super bad for 20-year-olds. So super bad, basically, kind of. But very Apatow inspired.
Shot in
Edmonton.
Yeah. And you had the premiere in Edmonton.
Premiere in Edmonton, and it was our first thing ever. We never went to school at all. We kind of just went for a full feature out of the gate, which everyone would tell you is insane to do.
Yeah.
No shorts before that, just a full feature, and we got very lucky. We sold it to Super Channel, and it did well for what it was. So the whole crew and everyone packed up and moved here for the next one.
That's awesome. Why Vancouver? Why did you decide to come out here?
It was the closest thing that we thought was LA, I guess,
Yeah.
and much warmer weather, obviously, and we came down here for a visit before we moved because none of us had ever even seen the city before, and we just fell in love with it immediately. It's so beautiful here, it's an easy sell, the mountains and ocean.
Well, I know you and Danny are partners.
Yeah.
You know, not in all senses of the word, but you guys work creatively on stuff all the time. But
we struggle with that all the time. We always say that. We're like, well, just business partners.
Did you also have other people that came with you from Edmonton? Like, did you bring a posse?
We did. We had some of the crew, and then we had all the main cast came with us as well.
Yeah. Did they all stay, or?
Most of them are still here. Yeah.
Cool.
And we're all still working on stuff. And then we've made a bunch of new friends here just from the film community in Vancouver. Everyone's so supportive here, both in the video game and film world here. So it's easy to make friends, and everyone knows someone. So
awesome.
It's super helpful, yeah.
Well, Heel Kick, I think, is the thing that has been the most prominent in your career so far.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people have questions, especially if they've been watching it. And by the way, if you have a question, help us out with an all caps question in the chat there. Thank you for participating. But help us out on what happens after you launch a movie. You went to festivals.
Yeah.
You went to London with this movie, but it's available everywhere, right? You can buy it on iTunes. Has it been on Netflix already?
That's like the one place we haven't got onto yet, and that's kind of our goal. But yes, like when we wrap the film up, and then we do festivals first, because you can't really lock down distributors or anything like that before, because festivals want the exclusive kind of big screening, right? So first it's the festival run. We didn't have a lot of luck in the festival run, but then we did a theatrical run in 2018 or 2017. I don't know. It's been a long time. 2017, we did the theaters all over North America.
Yeah.
Greg helped with that a lot too. He had his fan base kind of really embrace us, so we got to go to a bunch of different cities there, and we would do Q&As after every screening. And it was just a cool way to connect with the audience right after watching the movie, and so we got to make a lot of new friends just doing that as well.
Awesome.
And then after the theatrical run, we start hitting up distributors, and so it's everywhere now, but Netflix. Yeah.
Have you guys got a sequel in mind where Danny's 45 years old and it's like the comedic wrestler?
We have so many different variations. He's trying to prepare for anything. Like he even has like a potential TV show based on it, and sequels. He's just trying to remain flexible. Even with Heel Kick, the original movie, we were trying to find ways, because we had it's very highly improvised, and so we had just endless amounts of footage, and we were always thinking of we could break this down into episodes if that was ever needed or requested by us. So a series was always in mind, and now we're kind of he's in talks right now at getting it seen by more people right now, because it's been about a year since it came out, and we're really proud of it. Critically, it did really well, and audiences who saw it seemed to love it as well. It just didn't hit that wave that is necessary to really get it out there, kind of thing. So, and
what is it about that? Is it the wrestling? Is it the backyardness?
Yeah, I think wrestling is a niche,
right.
But it's weird because series like Glow on Netflix and just wrestling in general seems to be having a little bit of a resurgence. So we were hoping to catch that wave as well, and I think the wave is still there. We just need to find a way to tap into it.
Right.
And hopefully.
Did the WWE ever want to get involved, or did they think it was too much parody? And
they are very against backyard wrestling. So
okay.
yeah, that's a big no. Dan did an interview with Xavier Woods, and they wouldn't even let him air the episode, actually. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so they're a little strict on that kind of stuff, but they were still very helpful. They liked the movie. They just have to distance themselves from backyard wrestling and that
That's
kind of
kind
thing.
of understandable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you acted in that movie, and you co-wrote the movie as well, or
Story editor kind of thing. We
Yeah.
always pass our scripts back and forth.
did you
and
edit the movie too? Or?
Yeah,
and
edit
you
the
edited
movie.
it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so you're still making movies. You've
Yep.
got something now that you guys didn't write and create yourself. You were telling me. You want
Yeah.
to tell us all about it?
This is,
spoil everything right now.
I'll say what I can. It's still very early, literally happening like last week / this week.
Yeah.
But it's the first time we've ever been asked to write for a studio.
Cool.
And write something outside of our usual comedic roots.
Yeah.
We're finalizing plans right now to sign on, both Danny and I, to write a feature that we'll shoot this summer. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as if your movie and acting and writing and all that stuff career wasn't going well enough, you said, let's make a game as well.
Yeah, that
Right.
was.
When did you start this game?
That was an insane decision. But so 2012 was when I woke up and was like, I think I could do this for some reason.
Yeah.
And it's been a long road, a huge learning experience. We're still making it the same game, but it's
Billy Saves the World?
Billy Saves the World.
Yeah.
It's an action adventure game.
It's about Elon Musk?
Yeah, here it is here.
Okay.
It's an action adventure game. It combines the simplicity of like a Rayman or Mario platformer,
Sure.
with the spirit of Monkey Island, which is
Okay.
like a weird mixture of the two things. But
I saw some different kind of art style. Are you guys playing with the idea that he's maturing and he's
We have in the game you visit different worlds and different planets, and so I thought it'd be cool if every area had its own distinct look.
Oh, that's easy.
And also that helped with the fact that we have random
different
artists
artists.
over
Oh,
the
that's
years as
cool.
well.
That's
so
cool.
I was trying to find ways to embrace our faults kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so development on this has not gone according to plan.
No,
is
never.
what I'm hearing. Okay.
Even every time I think I'm like, all right, now we're on the path. It's like I keep using an analogy of it's like a car that only 3 wheels work at one time.
Right.
And just when you fix one, another one falls off. So it's doing the best you can, pushing this car to the finish line.
Yes.
And it's fun though. It's making a feature film is impossible, and so are making video games. But I'm using the confidence and experience from the film world to apply to this game, and it's very helpful. If I hadn't released a feature film before, I don't know if I'd have the patience and
Right.
experience.
What's the thing that drives you the most crazy about making a game?
It's my first love. It's like the thing I wanted to do before movies. Like when I was 5 years old, I wanted to make games. I would tell people that. Like
Right.
adults would be like, "What do you want to be?" And Timmy next to me would say, "A fireman." And I would say, "I want to make games." So it's just something I always wanted to do. Didn't think I would have the skill set to do it. Can't be a programmer, so I just kind of gave up on that. But through making movies, I met enough people that have the skills that I don't have, and I was able to assemble a team and direct and write and do all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm staying on the creative side and trying to push everyone else.
What's kicking your butt though?
It's just we're very small, so keeping everyone on on the game for as long as I've been on the game, right? So
Yeah.
contractors are only available for certain times, and you got to work within those limits, and then just the team is all over the world. We've been working with people in Japan, India,
Right.
LA, Edmonton, so it's really tough to organize, but it's like I said, it's a good kind of stress and a good kind of busyness. It's like a puzzle that you're always kind of trying to solve on the fly.
So the next one that you would make, you would say, make it here, or are you done? You're going to make
No,
this and ship this and never make another
No,
game?
I already want to make more. I just want to improve even just upon this formula that I've been doing.
Yeah.
So I'd love the opportunity to make more if I get to, but I have to see how well this one does, and then we'll go from there. But I definitely want to keep making them. Yeah.
What do you say to people that are watching now, that have these ideas? They're nervous. They don't know what route to take. They're looking for answers.
Yeah.
What do you say to get them off of their butts to go and to chase their dreams?
I've always been, both for film and games, I've always been just a proponent of getting your hands dirty and just doing it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of a lot of things you can make excuses for or wait for the right timing and that kind of thing. But I think just going out and doing it and utilizing the skill that you do have. If you're a writer or you're just someone who can organize things really well, then you're a producer all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
Get a team together, go out to events like this and meet people, and you can slowly, there's so many indie events in Vancouver every month that you can meet an entire studio really if you need it. So there's the people are there, the people are hungry, they want to work on stuff. So if you have an idea, go for it. But you also have to stay, you have to be the leader of it, right? Like people aren't gonna just stick around. You got to keep being the one that pushes it forward, kind of thing. So
if you can extrapolate a little bit, and you've got you've got some work for hire gigs sort of lined up, and let's say Heel Kick evolves into more like where do you want to be? Do you want to be sort of running a studio that creates a bunch of material, or do you want to be heads down writing, or is there a choice, or do you want to do it all?
I do want to do it all, but in a way that ties them all together. A lot of people always ask me that because it seems like these three things. I'm doing movies, TV, and video games, but to me they're all entertainment, but they all can work together.
Yeah. You're doing them all, but you're also doing a bunch of jobs within them all.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you need to decide on a job or a discipline within these things, or
somehow no? Like I'm feeling pretty good about stuff right now, but I think like my ideal goal is I would love to write and direct a movie based off of a video game franchise. I would love to be the guy that kind of finally solves that thing.
Right.
Because I think
which one?
Sonic the Hedgehog I would love to do, but that's already being done right now. But I would do anything, honestly, like a Tetris. I would do anything, literally, and I think I could come up with a good movie based on it.
You know, you said that's being done right now.
Yeah.
You put done and right.
Done right. There we go.
Beside each other.
No.
We don't. Is it going to be done right, do you think? From what you've seen? Or is your heart broken?
I want to see what Jim Carrey looks like.
Okay.
Really badly.
Okay.
I don't know why that's the pin, but
he was. Did you see Kick-Ass 2?
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Yeah, he was cool. Yeah.
When he's used in the right way. Well, he's so talented.
Yeah. I think I mean, live action, I would not have gone that route at all. But yeah, I think, and then I could act in those movies, right? So I can tie all the stuff I'm doing right now together, and I'm just sort of exercising each muscle in those groups as I get closer to that thing. So
cool.
Yeah.
Sam IM111 asks, what is your game development process? Waterfall, agile? What's the current roadmap for your game? Good question, Sam.
We just brought on our second programmer full-time last week. And so for the next 3 months or so, I'm hoping to finally hit a groove where everyone's working in unison, and we actually do have those 4 tires going at the same time. They're literally working on it right now.
So not agile.
No,
not
you got to be. I think you got to be flexible in this in making movies and games. Like you get stuff thrown at you all the time, and you just have to go with it and work the best you can off your feet. So
well, I mean that's one of the from all the studios that I visited, that's one of the other directions that you can go is you put a team together, but then suddenly, if you're the person writing the checks, you are more focused on making sure those payroll checks are put into the banks than you can be if you subcontract the work out like that. And I had Brian Provinciano on a little while ago, and he works very much like that too. But I feel like it's very hard because you are being pulled in all these different angles, right?
Yeah.
But it's also very hard to kind of shepherd a team and make sure that the company is paid for and that people are taken care of.
And you got to. It's been cool. Like I've been reading a lot about. I think it's called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Pierre Scher from Kotaku.
Okay.
He wrote the book, and it just follows.
Oh, Jonathan Shear.
Oh, is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
He just every chapter is a different game that went through troubles getting made, and it's cool like reading it and relating to it. Like even the bad parts, I'm like, oh, okay, so I am making mistakes, but they're the same mistakes other people have made.
Sure.
And it's weirdly comforting.
Awesome. Sam also asked, what research did you guys do into backyard wrestling? Did you consult any actual backyard wrestlers?
So Danny Mac, the writer of it, he is a huge wrestling fan going into it. So it's something he and his friends just did while they were growing up.
Yep.
And then he wrote all the parts the part I play is a documentarian named Roger who follows the two guys around. He wrote the part for me, so like he knows me inside and out. Or no, that's another weird thing, but
He's your partner.
We know each other well enough, so we were able to work well with each other, and the research was kind of his own life experience kind of thing.
It's a great movie. I really had a good time with it. And I also had a good time seeing it with a crowd of people that were there to give you guys a lot of support and love too, you know. But there is a heartwarming element to all this. Jamie.
What skills have you learned along the way that have served you best that you would recommend to people entering your space?
Question is, what skills have you learned that you would recommend to other people?
I started out just acting, and when I started out making movies originally, I realized like, oh, who's gonna like write it and who's gonna edit it? And I think editing was one of the biggest ones for me. It's something you can learn now in an afternoon. Really, the basics.
I'll back that up. I had to learn editing in episode 2 of Electric Playground just to get my feet wet and understand. I conceptualized the show, but once I edited the show, I had way more understanding, or I edited a segment. I had a much bigger understanding of what we were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it really helps, even performing on camera, like knowing how it comes together and everything. Video editing is crucial, I think, at this point.
Everybody watching should be able to edit video at home. Yeah. Everybody, no matter what you do, because video is going to become such a huge component of, you know, telling a tale no matter what business you're in, whether you're in retail or software development, whatever. Video is going to be the way we present these stories to other people. And if you've got that skill set, you're a step ahead.
Yeah.
But it's really transferable.
The cool thing too is like video editing is its own job too. So if you're struggling and you can pick up freelance work, you can do that as a video editor, right? So you get a little extra money as well on the side. And then from the game standpoint, design is something I've been learning with Billy Saves the World, and it's very similar to video editing. You're assembling the story through putting pieces together, and that's a skill I didn't have beforehand.
Right.
And they're weirdly mirrored, I find.
Well, I feel like video editing, because it is a collage of a lot of different art forms, and it is becoming another very accessible language for a lot of people, thanks to YouTube. I think a lot of different ways that media is going to be developed will reflect Premiere and Final Cut and stuff, you know. So even working within a game engine, as a lot of those tools and stuff get a little bit easier. Like Dreams, right? Like Dreams, I presume, is going to feel like you're video editing, but you're making a video game. Which is going to be wild. We've got a question here from JBJ Blaze, TFA. How many different types of media projects not linked with each other do you think you could handle and tackle at a time? And generally, how would you manage it all?
That's been a struggle forever. I've honestly hurt myself health-wise trying to do too much. So I've learned the important thing is balance for sure, but I seem to never learn my lessons because I'm about to make a feature film right now and my video game at the same time.
Right.
But I've done it before, and it is tough, but if you have help with your friends and everything, it's not so bad. But
it's hard to say no when you're going to be building your own stuff, right?
Exactly, and I love doing it. Like it's a lot of work, but when you love doing it, it's not like you're miserable every day. It's fun. But I would max it out at 2 things because that's a lot.
All right, so when are we going to see the next thing from Cooper Bibaud? And what's it going to be? Is it a race to finish Billy Saves the World, or your new movie that you're working on?
The movie seems to have a super tight pipeline, so it could be either one. If for some reason you want to see my face more, I'm going to be in the Twilight Zone. Super, super small part, not even worth mentioning, but
cool.
That premieres tonight.
Are you kidding? You're going to be in tonight's?
I won't be in tonight's episode, but the show, I guess, came out today.
Okay, cool.
And then mine's in early May.
Do you get killed?
No spoilers.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're acting.
Yeah.
So that's next, and then Billy Saves the World and your new movie.
Yeah.
Is it a horror movie?
It's gonna be a straight up action flick.
Okay, your action movie and Billy Saves the World are in a race to come out into the world.
To come out,
Yeah. So the next time that you're on, you're going to be able to talk about the
more exciting stuff.
The completed game and the completed movie that you're.
That'll be fun. If you have me back, that'd be
I'm
great.
definitely going to have you back. Congratulations on Heel Kick. If
Thank
you haven't
you.
checked that out, you can purchase it or rent it, I guess, now on iTunes and
PS4,
Google Play,
Xbox,
PS4,
everywhere, Amazon.
Xbox.
Yeah.
And Netflix. Come on, support the Canadian development here. Thanks, Coop.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being on, my
Thank
man.
you.
Say hi to Danny for me, your partner.
will.
All right, you guys, let's move on to a buried treasure.
I got to do a couple of buried treasures for you. And the first one I'm going to start with is UN Squadron on the Super Nintendo. This was originally an arcade game that was ported to the Super Nintendo based on a manga from Japan called Area 88. And this is a manga comic book I used to read all the time as a kid about these fighter pilots. And it was just so intriguing into their lives and all the missions they had to get on. Where the very first time I saw the arcade game, I went down to Bellis Fair and I walked in and I was like, what the heck is that? UN Squadron? And I'm like, that looks like Area 88, the comic I'm reading. I'm like, Capcom is doing a side view shoot 'em up game? You're kidding me. And I was totally mesmerized by it. You pick 3 different characters. You pick Shin, Mickey, or Greg. All of them have different kinds of weapons. And you go through side view levels fighting wave after wave of fighter planes and tanks and huge, gigantic bosses as well. Another thing that is very important about this game is the music is so good. And this was one of the very first Super Nintendo games. It was in that launch window that was there. And I couldn't believe we were getting that right off the bat. And I absolutely love this. I highly recommend it to anybody who has the Super Nintendo. Definitely check out UN Squadron. Or you know what? Check out the manga as well. There's a real deep history there to check out. And definitely a buried treasure.
Yes, that was Johnny Millennium. He said he wanted to make some buried treasures to be on EP Live, and I said, of course, man, that would be amazing. Great job, Johnny. Thank you so much for those great suggestions. There might be 1 or 2 more of those, so stay tuned. But right now, we've got a review of a game that I've been playing quite a bit of. Here's Ape Out. All right, after packing around Ape Out for several weeks, I traveled to Mexico with it. I was playing it on planes, trains, and automobiles. And in my living room, I'm finally ready to give you my thoughts on this game, this indie darling from Devolver Digital, which is a phrase that we get to repeat quite often because Devolver has somebody at Devolver or different people at Devolver have impeccable taste because they seem to choose very interesting titles that are kind of reminiscent of maybe some typical genres, action genres. This is like a dual stick shooter with a top-down aesthetic similar to Hotline Miami, but there's an element of surprise and there's an element of artistry here that really makes Ape Out something very special and definitely worthy of that moniker of indie darling. It's developed by just a few people, primarily by Gabe Cazillo, who we interviewed on EP when we saw him at PAX a couple of years ago. And this game is a celebration of jazz and a celebration of improvising your way out of bedlam. You play a gorilla, that's what it's all about. You're an ape, and you have to get out. It's very clear in the title. And you are challenged with a bunch of heavily armed human beings and crazy obstacles that get in the way. And you start off in kind of like a science facility, and you're in a high-rise building for a little while. You're on ships. And the way that they set up this game is there are a series of jazz albums, and you're playing different tracks. So the levels are tracks and the music. And the way that you create chaos in the game is reflected in the percussive beats and the cymbal crashes and the sonic feedback that's coming at you as you're playing the game, so it feels like you're in a jazz band. It's a very small ensemble. I could mostly just make out the drums, and I think it's because it's about all the chaos that you're creating. And you're basically trying to get from point A to point B, but lots of stuff gets in your way, and you can open doors and hurl those at enemies, and you can avoid them. They have spotlights and flashlights and rocket launchers, and there's snipers shooting from building to building, and people with shotguns and flamethrowers. All kinds of very violent deaths can befall you as the ape, and you can dole out all kinds of carnage as you go as well. It's procedurally generated in terms of what's put onto the levels, so it's not the same experience every time they start you off, at point A. Getting to point B won't always be the same because you're going to die. And this is a game that, like Ollie Ollie, another fantastic Devolver title out there, that gets you back into the experience pretty quickly. Not quite as quickly as Ollie Ollie, but when you die, you are basically starting over again. The sense of excitement and dread and adrenaline is fully in effect all the way through this game. You just want to get this ape out. You want to help this little character get out of there no matter what it takes. And, you're crashing and banging and booming. And it's fun. It's super fun. It's great with the headphones on and you're playing it on a portable screen, but there's something about playing it on a big screen, Even though the visuals are very minimalist and very stripped down, it's basically like color blocks. And when you look at it, it's like, well, that's a game in 2019? But yeah, it's a stylish art showpiece, art in its true sense, just this creative endeavor that the developers got behind and said, yeah, we want to do this. It's not like other titles out there, but it deserves to be played and seen. I don't know if it's going to be for everybody, it's certainly not like an RPG. It's more of an action game. What I do like about it, though, is that there's an arcade mode and there's a lot of replay value in the game because every time you load it up, it's going to be a little bit different. And even though it's minimalist graphics, they've done a wonderful job at creating environment and creating mood and evoking some atmosphere, and it's just a special experience. Devolver is something special, man. They are a true wonder of a publisher out there, and I really had a great time with Ape Out. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. All right, you guys, Ape Out is definitely worth checking out. We are moving on to Let's Play and Chat, and today we're taking a look at a new game. But it's really an old game because the video game industry likes to do that. This is Assassin's Creed 3, but it's remastered. They've done some improvements. They've added all the DLC, I believe. I'm just going to take the music off so there's no issues there. Here we go. Bam. And subtitles should be off. And boom. Okay. And our friend Jamie Andrews is coming out to play this. Hands. Big round of applause for Jamie Andrews. Here we go. All right, single player. Play the story, my friend. Now, you said you had finished this game back in the day.
Yeah. I was a huge Assassin's Creed fan.
Who isn't? Assassin's Creed rocks, even though they've done too many of them.
But they've scaled back.
And they have scaled back. And the last couple have been fantastic. But and hopefully they learned something, so you can be Batwing. It's all good.
Sure.
Or you can be Jamie, whatever you want to be. So press B, and you got to look there. Okay, so press A again, and then start game, and then boom, you're good. William Miles, there you go. Okay, here we go. So I can't remember this game because it was out more than a month ago.
A long time ago.
And I have played many games since then, but this will be interesting. But all up-res graphics and some quality of life speed improvements. I do remember playing the intro to this. Before you get to be the guy, I think it takes like 10 hours of game. Does that sound right?
Yeah, there's definitely a much needed
huge preamble.
Yeah.
This is all music. They probably tied it to the music. So when I turn, okay, so
start.
I can't.
Yeah, it's like mandatory.
Can't skip it. Okay.
Anyways.
All right. So.
Well, this is what the remastered version looks like.
Yeah. Here's some of the graphics. So the way that this works for Let's Play and Chat is if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to shoot them out our way, and we will do our best. And if you help me out with all caps, that helps too. Mr. Brockarock says, "Hey Vic, are you sick of the April Fool's things in the gaming industry like me, or am I just becoming a crotchety old man?" I have seen a lot of comments like, your video game industry, your press releases and your April Fool's jokes are not cool and not funny. I've seen a lot of that, and I kind of feel that way too. But you know what? I mean, it gives game companies something fun to do on this day. My daughter is obsessed now with April Fool. Now that she's learned that there is this quasi-holiday here, she really wanted us to create some. Can you go to the store and buy some April Fool's thing? And we're like, well, it doesn't really work that way.
You give her whoopee cushions?
Yeah, she would love that. So we're trying to retain some of that youthful, cherubic. Is that right? Cherubic? Cherubic? I don't use that word.
Yeah, I don't use it either.
I've never heard. I've read it. We're trying to keep that sort of enthusiasm for stuff like that. But I did tweet out something today, and people thought it was real news. I tweeted out epic news about the 3DO Mini. There's no 3DO Mini. But I had lots of people going, "Oh my God, I'll buy 2 of those." People were like they totally believed it. They thought, "Okay, fantastic, you got some kind of scoop. There's a 3DO Mini." I don't think does anybody want a 3DO Mini?
Johnny
would probably want, yeah, Johnny, yeah, for sure. So no, I'm not sick of it, but I totally understand the sentiment there, Mr. Braccarat. Question from Jordan Cunningham: which system would you recommend for this game? Oh man, I don't know. I asked for the Xbox One code. I have the One X. This is a super long intro, by the way, that we can't skip. We can't get into the gameplay. Typical
glad.
Assassin's Creed BS.
I've tried, man.
We're trying to get past this thing, but we cannot. And we
Play.
turn the music down, so we're not hearing all the VO and all the. But
Live television.
there
at
it
its
is.
best.
There it is. I like the One X. I feel like it's a pretty solid go-to platform for third-party developed titles. It's not always the best one, but I like the One X for that stuff. So I played Odyssey and Origins on the One X, and it looked great. So I thought this would look great as well. So I'm gonna recommend the Xbox One X, even though I haven't seen it on the PlayStation 4 Pro. Black Suited Spider-Man, great gamertag or great YouTube handle there. I stopped playing Assassin's Creed 3 at the first or second level. Yes, it was a tedious game to get going, but once it did, it really was amazing. They had a lot of great innovations. They had some technology in the third game that was really mind-blowing, but it was an effort to get to it for sure. And part of it was, I think, having to tie to the old lore, right? All of the Miles stuff, which
I was disappointed at the ending story of Desmond. I was really kind of looking forward as to where they were going to go with it.
I think that's the challenge that Assassin's Creed had, right? Like they had this sub-series of experiences that if they were just rooted in the history, they could have just made, like 4 didn't need to be Assassin's Creed. It could have just been a pirate game.
Yeah.
But they have this convoluted story with all this technology and aliens and all this other and so they got kind of squished. They got kind of caught in the middle there, So now you get to play as Desmond.
Yeah.
All right.
And
have fun with that.
I'm not sure if the entire storyline was thought out. Like Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 were excellent games, especially the Desmond stuff.
Yeah.
But
then it started to get all crazy.
Yeah, they didn't have a destination as to where to go, is what I feel.
Yes. But lots of good lore, honestly, all you got to do is watch that terrible movie that Fox made with Ubisoft involved.
Yeah.
And they tried to squish all of the lore and storytelling into that terrible film, and it was like, oh my God, what am I watching? This is worse than the worst cutscene in the Assassin's Creed games. It was terrible because it's too overstuffed. All right, here we go. We got a question from Sam I Am. What are your favorite gaming April Fool's announcements this year? What about of all time? Oh my God, I haven't had any time to think about that. I've seen some good ones though. I know IGN had a fake Nintendo Direct thing today. Ubisoft had you can play an actual rainbow-colored level in Rainbow Six, which is pretty clever. I think it's pretty cutesy. I don't know. I tend to not stay on Twitter or the internet too much looking for that stuff because everybody's trying to fool you. But I encourage that creativity. I think it's cool. Question. What do I make? This is also from Sam I Am 111. What do you think of Konami renaming their New York studio to focus on Frogger and Contra? I think that's great. I think Konami has a rich history in game development. One of my favorite games right now that I'm playing on the Super Nintendo is, and you're all going to roll your eyes and say, of course it is The Adventures of Batman and Robin, which is a Super Nintendo cartridge based on the old animated series. There's a Genesis game too, which is totally different, also very good. But every time I pop that in, or I pop in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, or Batman Returns from Konami, and I think of Time Pilot, and they've got such an awesome history, and it's just gotten so messy with all of their divestments and their divisions and their pachinko or wherever else their mobile, their gyms, whatever else they're making money from. They took their eye off of the prize with their games, and it's unfortunate. So I'm glad that they're taking their history into account when they come up with new studio names. I think that's fantastic.
So much.
Blade Blur, since you had Johnny on the show doing Buried Treasures, how about having other guests name their treasures, maybe EPN sponsors? I have been thinking about that, Blade Blur. Is there a desire on the part of sponsors? Let me know. You can do that in the comments now, but if you could do me the favor and do it as a message to me or as an archive, or when this is up, a comment on the archive, that would be great.
Could we do a short video?
Desmond.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think that's pretty cool. Do you guys want to do that? Would you guys like to make little videos with your buried treasures and then we roll them into the show? I think that'd be fun.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah? Okay.
That'd be a lot of fun, Matt.
Jamie's down. Okay.
Yeah.
If I get like 20 people that say they want to do it, then we will do it, and we'll share that opportunity with the sponsors on EPN. Thank you for your support, by the way. I think that'd be super fun. Jordan Cunningham. Then less work for me, yeah. And I don't have to find a location.
Yeah,
but no, we'll get some great ideas.
Then we can work on our editing skills.
Ramses the Great asking thoughts on all the streaming consoles. I'm excited as long as these consoles find a way to endure and preserve. It's not just about, capturing what's hot now when it comes to streaming. They need to preserve and offer up great deep dives into the past and allow people to access this content in a legal way that's affordable, that makes sense. I think Nintendo's been very smart and shrewd with the mini consoles and what they're offering through their online store. If you're a subscriber to their Nintendo online service, you can get the NES games and soon the SNES games. But I think that quality, or that collection of titles should be much larger and it should go much deeper. So I'm excited that streaming is coming, but I want I want it to be like Netflix, man. I want it to be like, oh my God, I've got that there, I've got that there, I've got that there. And then there needs to be, I think, a little bit of thought towards curation and guided tours through some of that content. And the other thing that I would love to see happen through streaming consoles is we would see the disappearance of all of this hands-out microtransaction downloadable content. You pay for this, you pay for that. You get little drips and drabs of the content. I mean, imagine if on Netflix you had to watch a movie, but if you wanted to see the ending, epilogue or whatever, you had to pay a little extra money in addition to your Netflix account, right? That would suck, right? Or you're watching 23 of 24 shows, but if you want to watch the 24th show, you got to pay $5.99. It just doesn't work. The media that we have through games should just be, this is the price. I was talking with Brett earlier today, and what drives me nuts whenever I'm on the e-stores, whenever I want to see what's new or what's available, and I search a term, let's say it's Spider-Man, or Spider-Man's a bad example, but I don't know. I search, let's say Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed. Not only will you get the game icons pop up, and there might be 4 of the game icons at various price points. Get the digital deluxe, the gold deluxe, the diamond deluxe, the deluxe, and you get a pat on the head version. But you can also buy, do you want this sickle? Do you want this horse? Do you want this? Do you want a bag of gold? Do you want somebody to sit beside you? Do you want this? And so there's 75 million little icons, and you're like, where's the game? I just want the game. Is this the game? I want to get past that. I think it's really a terrible thing for people that are trying to figure out what to play and what to buy when they go into a store and it's 50 million icons. It should be one goddamn icon. I want a one goddamn icon future. That's what I want.
That model is why I buy games like the Game of the Year edition a year later.
Right.
because I finally get everything and I totally understand what I'm buying.
Well, I think these layoffs and what we talked about on the rundown today is, I think consumers are like having enough of this. I don't think consumers want mobile gaming and console gaming and AAA gaming to merge, and they've merged. And now we want distinction. We want there to be like real value for the dollar. And honestly, that's the opportunity that Stadia could offer to people. If people are paying a subscription and they have access to everything, which may not be the way that the game industry wants it right now, because they're still selling us multiple versions of the game. And I keep thinking of and I know there's been some success with this, but I keep thinking of the variant covers that came out in the comic industry in the 80s, where there was 75 covers for a comic when it would come out, and you'd have to pick one, and it ended up killing the industry. It ended up really hurting the business because people just got fed up with it. There were so many versions of these books that they didn't know where to get, because it was not just a read the book thing. It was like, we want to invest in this business and have a collection. And I think games have potentiality of going in that direction as well. Just the new games, the big games, and all of these crazy delineations also point to physical still being very, very worth your time. Matthew Winstone, I've got two more questions. This is the second to last one here. Question: should streaming services sell special controllers for certain game types? NES style for simpler games, Xbox-like controllers for more complex, fishing reels for the fishing games? I guess so. I mean, I feel like one of the cool things about the streaming devices and being able to just turn on a smart TV and the app for those games opens up the range of controllers like crazy. I mean, that's one of the great things about playing games on the laptop here on Steam or the Epic Store or whatever, is if you want to play with the PlayStation 4 controller, you can. If you want to play with an 8-bit DOE, NES style controller, you can do that. I think it's really cool. Is the remastered Assassin's Creed 3 4K compatible? I believe it is. Yes, I think it is. Blake just put his thumbs up. Okay, last question. Adrian Leon wants to make it his own buried treasure. That sounds great, buddy. Jordan Cunningham has suggestions for buried treasure.
I have a question.
Oh, okay. Please.
How do we get mentioned in the rundown?
How do we get mentioned in the rundown? Have we never mentioned you in the rundown?
Oh, I've never asked to be mentioned in the rundown.
Okay.
So it's
well, that's part of it, and there's no formula for it. We look at the comments and the questions, and if somebody says something pretty cool, then we try to honor that.
Sure.
Sometimes, like today, we had new people that have sponsored the channel that have joined, become members of the channel. Some days it's somebody's done something extraordinary or somebody's passed away, and we like to honor them that way. But there's no formula.
All right.
We will keep that request in mind, my friend.
All right. Monday's my birthday. Next Monday.
Oh, Monday's your birthday.
Yeah,
well, let's a round of applause for Jamie. Next birthday, turning what? 29.
Yeah.
29 again.
It's
Fantastic. Yeah.
It's
my 29th as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, you guys, that is going to do it. We got nowhere in Assassin's Creed 3.
Beginning of this game is rough.
We're still in the tutorial missions here as Desmond Miles. We haven't even got to where the ancient America yet.
No. I mean,
oh well.
I need more time. More time.
You did great. Look at how great we look right there. That's good stuff, my friend.
We are sexy bitches.
That's so subtle. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll be back on Wednesday with a brand new EP live for you with Cloudhead. The VR studio is coming in, and they're going to be telling us all about their process and their titles. They've made some award-winning titles. I'm very much looking forward to this. Very cool studio. They're based on Vancouver Island, so they are not based in the central hub of this city or any big city for that matter. They've chosen a different path for how they make their video games, and I think that's really cool. I've always thought that the environments where people make games really factors into the types of games that they make. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for watching, everybody. Tomorrow we'll have a brand new rundown for you. Please check out all the content that we've made, and if you dig it, hit subscribe, hit that like button, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everybody. Play forever.